Welcome back to JSR, guys, and welcome back to the next video in this series of ranking slash rating slash reviewing, whatever you want to call it, the current sim racing slash simcade games on sale today. Last time out, we reviewed the newest installment in the Forza series, the current Forza Motorsport, aka FM8, aka Forza 2023, and today we're reviewing probably one of the biggest sleepers in this entire category, RennSport. Now, I did a video on launch of RennSport. It was actually a live stream of launch on RennSport, much like I did for Assetto Corsa Evo, and the first day I ever owned R-Factor 2. And I will say I liked this game, but didn't really grow an attachment to it back then. So I am excited to get to play this game now. Oh, well, I've played it. I've obviously voiced everything this after the fact. This game, after all, some of the updates it got. And there are a lot of good things to say and a couple of negative things. But my main focus for this is going to be, is this game going to be the next iRacing? Is this the iRacing killer that everyone has been trying to, do in the gaming industry? These developers that have been making these hardcore sims have been just trying real hard to kill iRacing and take part of its market share. And honestly, I think there are two games right now that have the biggest shot at this, and this is one of them. And we're going to talk about the other later in this series. RennSport launched last year, and it was pretty bare bones when it first launched. There wasn't really a whole lot of content in the game. There was only a handful of tracks, only a handful of cars. But it is based, I believe, on the Unreal Engine. I could be wrong there, which is part of the reason it launched on Epic Games Store first, before moving to Steam. Now, this is the Epic Games version. I showed off my PC specs in the last video, but I'll read them out and put them on screen for you guys now. I have a brand new Ryzen 9 9950X3D paired to a Radeon RX 7800 XT with 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. I don't know how much of a difference RAM makes in games, but it's there. I just thought I'd mention that in case it does. So yeah, that's my main build that I run with these games with right now. All the videos you guys are seeing at this point, other than like LMU maybe. LMU probably will just be a rehash of my old video I did when the game was 9 months old. All of that is running on this new system, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to start off with some of the stuff that I thought very negatively of on Forza, and that was the physics. This game has one of the better physics engines I've played with. It's a lot more forgiving than, say, Automobilista 2, but not quite as precise and sharp as iRacing, in my opinion. It's very close, though. I think out of all the current racing games on offer, RennSport probably has the closest to iRacing in terms of physics, which, I mean, is saying a lot, considering iRacing's physics are kind of the gold standard for sim racing when it comes to physics. This game is among the best in terms of how close it is to those physics. Obviously, I think LMU is right there with it, and R-Factor just below that, and Automobilista 2 somewhere in there. I do really like the physics in that game too, but like I said, we'll talk about that in its own video. But RennSport has one of the better physics engines of any of the sim racers that I've ever played, and I really like it. It felt very natural. It was a game that I was able to pick up and immediately learn how to play when it first launched, and even now I'm extremely comfortable with this physics engine. And I think majority of that, even I've barely played this game honestly, is tied to how similar it feels to iRacing, and I have like close to 100-200 hours in iRacing, so it's a physics engine I'm extremely familiar with. So yeah, that is the main thing I want to hype on first, is the physics engine. Next, talking about graphics. Now, of course, I praised Forza a good bit last video for being among the better of the games with graphics. It still is not on the level of AC Evo or Gran Turismo 7 in its class, but when it comes to PC, it's one of the better ones without mods. RennSport is pretty good as well. The track models in RennSport are great. I've spent a lot of time on Road Atlanta, as you could probably take a guess with me. And even Monza looks incredible in this game. It's a gorgeous track model, honestly, and the car models are pretty solid. I would say they're also among the best on the PC side. I think there are some better alternatives in terms of car models for a PC. Obviously, I mentioned AC Evo, but I think running car models for car models, I think this game might be slightly better than Forza. I think Forza's car models are what really hold the graphics back in that game, but everything around the cars in Forza was good. This game, it's kind of the opposite. The track models are really good, but the car models carry the graphics in this game even more. The menus are pretty user-friendly. And one thing I really want to harp on with this game is the social aspect of it. This game features one of my favorite, niche features of any sim racing title, and that is the e-VIN system. Now, every instance of a car in the servers for RennSport has its own individual VIN number, like a real car. And when you have the RennSport app, you can connect your RennSport account to it, your Epic Games account, whatever. And the cars you have will have their own VIN numbers that are tied specifically to your user and your account. And I don't know if it's been done yet, but I believe there is going to be car trading at some other point and during RennSport's life cycle, which means you'll be able to collect different VIN numbers of the same car. So it's not like, Forza or Gran Turismo or something like that, where you buy a car and it's just an instance of that car in your garage. It has a bit more personality and a bit more tailor focus to it, because that car is the only one with that e-VIN. You will never see another one with the same VIN number. And I think that's just a really cool, attention to detail aspect. It's just a really cool feature. This game has also been growing and online. There's been a lot of multiplayer stuff going on with this game. RennSport runs their own league events and stuff like that from time to time. I have not participated in any of them, obviously, but it is a pretty solid game, I think, if you're wanting to get into sim racing, especially on a budget, because I believe, well, it was at the time I downloaded it. I don't know if it still is. RennSport is free to play. So it's a game you can download for free. You get a handful of cars at the beginning. It's not a big roster, and that is one thing I will knock it for, is that the car roster is really small with RennSport, even with all the updates. It's grown slightly, but it's still relatively small in the grand scheme of things, and I think that's probably one of the biggest negatives I can say about this game. It's just the car roster is so small. And the fact that it is among the smaller, lesser-known games in the sim racing space. Obviously, games like rFactor and iRacing and Assetto punch this game completely out of, completely into obscurity almost. But it is a really solid title. And I think that's just a disservice to it, because it is a really good game. And I think, for a lot of people, this might be the only one they need to play. So yeah, obviously RennSport also just recently launched on Steam. So if you have Steam and you want to play this game, now you can get it. If you already have an Epic Games account, you've probably been able to play this game for a long while now. But this game does feature some more modern GT cars. And I'll talk about this during the Forza video, and I'm going to harp on it again. Something that Gran Turismo doesn't do. A lot of people watching this video and are familiar with my channel know I do a lot of Gran Turismo content, but I will crap on GT all day for their lack of modern GT cars. Where RennSport, Forza, and pretty much every other simcade, sim racer game on the market today completely crushes it in that regard. For me, when it comes down to these kind of games, I value the on-track experience and being able to replicate current day races more than individual road cars. And I think that is probably a hot take, but that's why I tend to like games like RennSport and iRacing and, Automobilista, stuff like that, more than Forza. Because one, the customization in Forza is so bad, but two, these games have a better on-track experience, and that's kind of what I play these games for, is on-track. And I think that RennSport is among the best when it comes to on-track experience. You got a lot of cool cars. There's detail you can, a lot of games these days do this, but you can map individual buttons to the starter and the ignition and all that stuff, and your pit limiter and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool stuff, and it is definitely, more attention to detail, more realism, which is what I care more about in these games. I want more realistic experience. I want a very good on-track experience versus, having a bloated car roster and, a bunch of really crappy car models that don't look good and terrible physics. And here's a look at some of the models in focus. This is the 992 GT3R, which is one of the launch cars. In fact, it was the first car I picked in this game. And it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a really good model if you think about it. It's one of the better car models that I've seen of the GT3R. You also do get liveries. I think you can buy these through the app or something like that, or you can acquire them by doing certain things. Of course, my time in this game has been so limited that I haven't seen a lot of these. But there are plenty of them, and there's plenty of, stuff to do to get these liveries. You can kind of see this is the entire car roster right here. This is it. Just these handful of brands, these handful of cars. That's it. That's all you get. A super small roster. But I will say that these cars are among the better driving examples of these cars in gaming right now. So, yeah, definitely look into this game. I'm going to wrap this one up a little bit and kind of give you guys some closing thoughts. This game is well worth the purchase for any sim racing fan. When I say purchase, the game's free to play. This game is well worth a look for any sim racing fan who wants to try to find a one game fits all solution. I think this is among the better of those to do it. Obviously, if you're looking for more Gran Turismo Forza type experience, this game is not going to offer that. This is very much a hardcore sim racer. That if you're looking for something to be similar to iRacing or R Factor or LMU, this is one of the better games to look into. Obviously, the small car roster does knock it down a little bit, but the graphics are really good, the models are incredible, and the experience on track is among the best. But thank you all so much. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.